So today we're talking about these key things, and hopefully, as well as some of the key principles that the previous speakers have spoken about today, hopefully this gives even more structure so that you can strategically create the type of culture that you want to create. So it's about these things. I'm going to show you a model. We call it the GRIP model. So we work with more than 20 different sports all around the world. A lot of our work is done in the States, but we work with AFL teams here in Australia and some NRL teams as well. And we essentially help to create and help the coaches to create the type of culture that they think is going to be the type of culture which will create great results for the team. Okay, and of course the organisation. So we're going to go through this model. It's essentially about the goals, the roles, interpersonal relationships, processes, and procedures. So we'll get to that in a moment. Alright, so why do we do it? For me, it's all about starting on the same page. If you don't start on the same page, the likelihood of finishing on the same page, not good, right? Vividly remember, before the Sydney Olympics, I was rowing in a 4. So back in those days, there was the Awesome Fours. We first won in 1992. They won again in 96. They wanted to be the 4 that represented Australia in 2000. But I was at UTS with 3 other guys, and we wanted to be the 4 that was going to represent Sydney in 2000 and represent Australia. And we had to race these guys in order to be the selected crew. And we managed to beat them in Australia and get selected, etc., etc. in 98. 99, we went to the World Championships. We ended up coming second to the British team. 1.5 seconds off a gold medal, translates to about 0.34% behind. It's not a lot. All right. And we came together before the 2000 season and we said, so what do we want to achieve this year? Are we going to be happy with the silver medal? Do we want to win a gold medal? Some of the guys in the crew had no Olympic medal. You're just happy with anything, something to take home from the experience. And we had a lot of debate about this. We eventually decided that we would set our sights on winning a gold medal. Okay, so beating the British crew who had, at this point in time, never been beaten. They had a guy called Stephen Redgrave rowing, who eventually went on to win that race in Sydney and win his 5th Olympic gold medal. In all of his rowing career, he was beaten only twice in his entire career, every single world championship in between. Okay, but we came together and we set our sights on trying to win this Olympic gold medal. And for us, it was all about starting on the same page, because setting that goal enabled us to create some sort of framework, setting the standards that we wanted to aspire to during the season. Okay, and it's up to you. Your goal is going to define the standards that you're eventually going to live up to, or perhaps not. Okay. The big thing was this. It wasn't the coach saying, this is what you will do. It wasn't the coach saying, you guys are going to win a gold medal. That's your goal for the year. Or you guys are going to aspire to be just a medalist. Or perhaps your goal is going to be just a finalist. Why not? Why doesn't the coach just tell us what to do? What do you think? I mean, some coaches still do that, don't they?
Normally you go objective too. If they try to dictate, everybody doesn't work together.
Exactly. So what happens when the coach dictates how it's going to be? You might get resistance. So you might get some people who have their own ideas, especially when you start dealing with young adults. Now, my coaching roles, so I'm like you, I'm a coach. I help coach on the US Olympic rowing team. So I travel over there for a few weeks at a time and I coach those guys and I come back to Australia. But I'm also the head coach of the under-7 nippers up at Maroochydore Surf Club. And even with the under-7s, we give them a say in how the session gets run. We give them a say in terms of what do they want to take away from the season of the nippers. Okay, so that's dealing with kids. Even kids want to have buy-in. They want to have an opportunity to get involved, have their say. Okay, and the same goes with the guys who are adults that we coach at the Olympic level. And so if we dictate the terms, the opportunity for creating buy-in, what do you think? We don't create any opportunity for buy-in, do we? Okay, so what we're suggesting is that when we're trying to start on the same page, trying to create the type of culture that we want, who do we need to consult about that? Players. The ones who have to execute, and when we talk about culture, the ones who have to ultimately live it on a daily basis. Okay. Now, I've got buy-in here quite often we associate buying with not belonging, but another word beginning with O. Ownership. So you can create ownership. From ownership can come belonging. What do you think the difference might be, even if you think about it just from a philosophical point of view? What do you think the difference between owning something and belonging to something might be? I mean, who's got a car that they own, but you don't religiously clean it, you know, you don't look after it that well, you don't get it serviced all the time? Anyone want to admit to that? I mean, our car goes through various points of being clean. I try to get it cleaned once every couple of weeks, but you know, we've got young kids and a lot of you know what that's like. Okay, so you can own something but not necessarily do what?
Look after it.
Look after it. Perfect. But can you belong, can you really feel like when you belong to something at that really deep level, how do you generally treat that thing that you really feel like you belong to? You just don't do things to hurt it, disrespect it, ultimately break it. And so for us, when we watch the NRL, when we watch the AFL or any other sport, we see athletes perhaps behaving poorly, you know, bringing the game into disrepute, and maybe they feel like they don't perhaps belong to it. You know, we want to create a level of where your players don't just feel like they own the culture, but they really feel like it's a part of them. And you just won't get that unless they have an opportunity to suggest what it might be for them. Okay? So,